Hey guys, this is Melissa Dreskis with ABC Behavior Training, and I wanted to go over just a quick review of the program library that I have on the members only section of my website. So this is the program library, and everything is separated by different domains that are relevant to working with kids with autism. The first thing I want to direct everybody to is the master program list, which the link is here, and then it's also on every one of these individual pages too, but it's all the same link. So this is a Google Doc that you'll have access to be able to view. So when you see the first page here, it's really just a table of contents, everything arranged by domain. And these are, domains that I personally use. But again, you might find something in adaptive living that you would use more so in communication, and that's fine. You can use them however you want. This is just an easy way to find them. So when you're looking at the programs that are in bold are currently in the program library. Programs that are italicized are going to be added shortly, so within a month, and programs that are grayed out will be added in the future, but more than a month away. And this is not a final list. Like, I'm always adding things to this of programs that will be added in the future. And if you have any programs that you'd like to see added, send me an email and I'll be happy to get them in there for you. So here we can scroll through. We're at the very beginning of the membership site here, so we don't have all of these programs in here yet, but lots of them are going to be added very soon. So, if you want to look at attend to non-leisure tasks, you can see what the goal is, and you'll know to look under adaptive living. So this is a really great place to start. Instead of having to click through all the pages and click on all of the programs to see the goals, this has everything all in one spot for you. And then you can see programs that are upcoming as well. So be sure to check that out first. So the next thing that I want to look at with everybody is a couple of the actual program sheets. So this is an example of the Tagged Common Objects program. When you go to that program and you download the program template, this is what you're going to get in an editable Word document. And I have it that way so that you can individualize all of these programs for your clients, which you absolutely should. So use this as a guide. Some of them might be fine to use as is, but some of them you may need to make adjustments to make sure it's individualized and relevant for your clients. So please feel free to do that. I would ask that you not remove the copyright on there or giving credit to ABC Behavior Training unless you substantially edit the goal to where it doesn't look like what what it originally was. So here you're going to see the goal. That's the same thing that you're looking at on that master program list. The mastery criteria, so how are we tracking this? So this says 8 out of 10 trials, and we're looking at 50 common objects. So the mastery criteria for each trial, it's 80% across 3 consecutive sessions. The total targets for mastery is 50 targets. Generalization criteria, we're looking at demonstrating mastery with 2 individuals. And then you may also want to add something on there specific to your location. So maybe that they can do it at the clinic and they can also do it in the home setting. Data collection, so how are we collecting data on this? We're looking at the percentage of the first 10 trials per session. And then the SD, so the therapist is going to present the picture or item and ask, what's this, or similar, and then the plus is client responds correctly within 3 to 5 seconds. And then I also have some information here for prompts, any stimulus prompts if that's something that's relevant, and response prompts. And if it's a receptive skill, then those also are going to have the receptive response prompts on there too, like physical prompting. You're going to put the baseline information in here, the start date, and the mastery date. So this is for the entire program. When did you start the program? And then when were all 50 targets mastered? And then this is a data sheet sample, and we're going to come to that in just a minute because I also have this set up to where you can really easily create your weekly data sheets if you're using paper data sheets. And then also right here on the front page is we have a way to track our mastery towards this goal. So with this goal looking at a set number of targets for mastery, this is going to be a cumulative targets mastered goal. So it's not going to go down. We're not tracking percentages here. You're just going to put a plot point increasing every single time that they master a new target until they get up to 50. And it's labeled appropriately for you here. And with this graph being on the sheet here, I have it set up for you to put baseline data and then data every week, but you can also plot this every day. I mean, the sections here are wide enough to put individual plot points like that, or you can do it weekly, just whatever works for you. And then I have it go for a period of 6 months, since that's generally what our authorizations are. But if you need more, again, this is an editable document, so you can copy this and paste several of them, whatever you want to do for that to continue those graphs. But even if you use electronic data collection, this at least gives you a snapshot of where you are and where you're at on mastery towards your goals as you're going through your program sheets. And then down here when we get to target tracking. So again, we're looking at TACT common objects, so the target is just going to be those common objects. Pretty simple for this one. It has a section for baselines, the prompts that you're using, the introduction date, the mastery date, and then monthly maintenance. So the way that I use this, when I introduce the target ball, I'm going to take 3 data points for baseline. That's typically going to be 3 sets of 5 trials where I'm not prompting, not reinforcing, just looking at what their baseline data is. So you can do that. You can just do your plus minus. You can do 1 trial, whatever it is that you do to establish what their baseline is. And then for the prompt, so you have a couple of options as you're doing this. You can, have ball in here many times and go through different prompts. And that's what I typically do for a shaping type of skill. But something where we're looking at a set number of targets, I'll usually write the prompt that we're using in here in pencil and then change that as I'm adjusting the prompt. And then of course, it's never going to be mastered until they're doing it independently. But then that, kind of saves some space to where independent is always going to be the mastery criteria, and then you can adjust that prompt as you're going without having 10 spaces here for ball. And then monthly maintenance. Again, you can use this as you wish, but once the target is mastered, then we want to make sure that they're maintaining that mastery each month. Sometimes you might do a weekly maintenance, or sometimes you're doing monthly maintenance, but either way, this can be used for tracking that monthly maintenance, or you can do 4 plus minuses in each little box to look at this on a weekly basis. But just looking at every time that you do this maintenance check, do they have the skill or do they not have the skill? And then just putting a plus minus in there, or a percentage if you're doing several data points, just to make sure it's maintaining over a period of at least 6 months before you completely drop that skill. And then for this one, since we have 50 targets that we're looking at, it is going to have all of those in here. And then sometimes they'll have little notes on the bottom, like this one, after 50 targets are mastered. I personally recommend looking at Sundberg's 300 common nouns list, which you can find online just by Googling that, to probe the remaining of the targets, because I don't have a program in here that actually has 300 common nouns on there, just because that would be so long, and there's something that already exists for that. So yeah, so this is what it looks like when we're looking at targets. Another thing that I'm going to point out, it's not going to be relevant for all of them, but some of these programs have material that actually goes with it. So all of these targets, I use a picture noun set for that, and the set has 3 examples of each of these targets. So it's going to have 3 pictures of ball, 3 pictures of shirt. They're heavy duty cards. I love them. I use them in my therapy all the time. So when you're looking on the website and you go to the TACT Common Objects page, you're going to see a link that will take you to whatever materials are used. So for TACT Common Objects, that's just one thing. If we're looking at something like object play, there's a variety of different things that I use for that. So you're going to see several different links on there. And again, it's nothing that you have to get, but if you're looking for something that very easily matches up with the targets that I have here, then you may want to check that out, because it'll just save you time from having to change the targets or find all of these pictures in your current materials. All right, let's look at another program for Manned for Attention. So everything is the same here as far as you're going to have the goal listed, mastery criteria, generalization, how you're collecting the data, the SD, the prompts, which this one you can see there's expressive and receptive targets, so different types of prompts there. And then here, instead of total targets for mastery, we don't have that. We're looking at skill shaping. So the difference with that is we're not looking at you have to master 50 targets, we're looking at shaping up this skill. So the targets here go over through all the steps of shaping it, but you may have a client that doesn't need to start at number 1 of the shaping. Maybe you're starting at number 3, or maybe they can skip one of these and move on to the next one. So it's not like they have to master 7 targets for it to be completed. They just need to get to this end goal of being able to do it for naturally occurring events. So here we're going to be tracking the average percentage per week. Now, since you have different targets here that you're looking at, I would take baseline on, either the starting target or your end goal, whichever you prefer, and then track the percentage for each target each week. So this one's going to go up and down as you have different percentages. And then whenever you move on to the target, make sure to add that phase change line, put a break in your graph, and a little note of here that, this was target 1, this is target 2, and then so forth. So you can continue to track that just the same as you would the cumulative targets mastered, but a little differently because we're looking at percentage correct. And then, as I said, with these targets, some of these I have prompts already in there because, we're going to go with a verbal reminder here. So that adds a verbal prompt between that and getting attention with contrived events without a verbal reminder. But again, you can adjust this. You don't have to leave that prompt in there. Everything here is you're able to type over it, delete it, whatever you need to do for your client. And again, we still have that section for baselines, prompts, intro, and mastery criteria. And then we also have this data sheet section here. And this one, we're only looking at the first 5 opportunities. So we only have 5 boxes for your therapist to take data here. Now let's take a look at this data sheet template and what you're supposed to do with these things that are in here. So this is the weekly data sheet template, and this can be found right below this video in the program guide section on my website. But pretty much what we're looking at here, it's for a week, so 5 sessions. So you have a section for you to write the client's initials. Shouldn't write their name on there. When you updated this, so you can make sure that the therapists are working off of the most recent version, the date, the start time of session, the end time of session, and the therapist. If you have a client that has multiple therapists per day, then maybe each one of these rows or each one of these columns is a different therapist. Or maybe they'll share the same column, however you want to use that. And then this for follow instructions, this is just there as a guide, like you don't have to use that, you can delete that, but that's where you're going to copy and paste the datasheet rows from the program templates. So let's go over to our TACT Common Objects program. This is a program that we want on our datasheet. So I'm going to copy this and paste it over here, and it fits nicely. All the rows and columns match up with everything, and then we have, it really easy for us to just type in what we need. Now, I probably am not going to just be working on one target for TACT Common Objects, so just paste it a few more times. Maybe you're going to be working on ball and shirt and I don't know what the third one is, let's say milk. And then those are the targets that you're working on, and you're looking at 10 trials for each of those each session. And then if you're doing prompts, you can type that in there. If your prompts vary each session, you can leave it blank so they can write stuff in there, whatever you want to do. And then you're going to do that for all the programs that you're working on. So we're looking at Manned for Attention is the other program we've looked at. So I copy that and I paste that on the bottom as well. And for the target, you can also just copy this and put that on there. I think that's a bit wordy. That's not how I would actually put that on there. But you can include that on there as well. Then make it all the same size. So however you want to note that, so the therapists know what it is that you're working on for all of the different programs. And then you just copy and paste everything in there so you have everything in one data sheet, really clear and concise of what you should be working on with your clients, so your therapists have a really clear idea. The final thing that I want to look at with you guys is the parent programs. So the parent programs are going to be a little bit different in the way they are set up. So let's go over BIP implementation. So this is one of the parent programs that we have in there. And here it's directed towards the parents. It's not something you're doing with the client. So parents will demonstrate how to implement the consequence-based procedures described in the behavior intervention plan for each target behavior, depending on the function in role play and naturalistic behavioral occurrences, with 80% accuracy over 3 consecutive parent training sessions. So here we are just looking at 80% because I can't say 8 out of 10 because I don't know how many target behaviors you have or how long your parent training sessions are. You know, that's going to be a little bit different than your sessions with your client. So then we have mastery criteria, 80% across 3 consecutive sessions. You're going to fill this in. What are the total number of targets that you're looking at? So what are the target number of behaviors? And are you looking based off of strictly topography? Are we looking at the number of behaviors by function? Make sure that you clarify that in there. Generalization for parents, we need them to be able to generalize this to the natural environment when behaviors are actually occurring. And then we're just looking at the percentage out of total opportunities per session. And then we have the SD here. So how are you introducing this? You're asking them to demonstrate these consequence-based procedures for each target and scoring if they do this correctly or not. We do have some prompts in here because you may need to teach them how to do these things. And then again, we have baseline, intro date, and mastery date. And then we're still tracking this. We're looking at the percentage of them doing this across the weeks. Now, since you may have different behaviors, you could graph this with different colors for different percentages or only work on one behavior at a time. However you want to look at that, you can graph that data here. And then the part that's different is the target tracking. So parent training, that's really individualized for what you're working on with that client and that parent. So I don't actually have a list of these are the targets you must work on, because again, that's going to be different for everybody. So this is more so like a notes page. So the date that you had a parent meeting, the targets that you discussed. So did you discuss all the different behaviors? Did you just discuss one of them? Any notes from that session? Any prompts that you used to teach this skill? The data, so you can put your plus minus data in there for what it was that you were looking at and how their performance was. And then you can include a percentage for their performance for that, that session. So looking at a combination of the prompts and percentage, we can track when they are at mastery criteria, when they're able to do this without prompts and with the higher percentage of 80% or higher. Now I only have one page here for notes, but what I would ideally do is just this second page here, print it several times. So, if you're talking about behavior implementation, BIP implementation over 20 different parent training sessions, then you have all of those pages behind it. So that's what I would do for this. And again, you can edit this. So if you want to add a section or you don't need a prompt section, however you're doing it, you can make adjustments to this sheet. So. All right, that's all I've got to show you today for the program library. I hope you are enjoying your membership for ABC Behavior Training, and be sure to reach out to me if you want to see anything added, either in the program library, the supervision section. If you want a specific topic for those free CEUs, just let me know and I'd be happy to add those for you. Thank you.